Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Property Sourcing Success Show. And listen, on today's episode, I want to get real. So if you're holding back, and this episode that I'm going to walk you through today, guys, is the real numbers behind sourcing deals. So let's get real for a second. If you're holding back from charging properly for your deals, properly for your services, the good news is you're absolutely not alone. I speak to portfolio builders every week who are doing all the legwork, all the grunt work, finding solid property opportunities, but then lo and behold, they fall apart when it's time to actually put a price tag on it. So what I want to do in today's episode is essentially I want to get talking about the real numbers that hide behind property sourcing. Now, not just what you can charge, but how to back it up confidence so that you're not underselling yourself and that you're not underselling the services or your work. If you've ever thought, how can I charge that much? Why should I charge that much? What if they say no? Then this episode 100% today is your permission slip to get paid properly. And on a side note, just so that you know we're not talking here, we recently had our quarterly Belfast mastermind event for our mastermind guys. We run it every quarter, and we have guys from both Northern Ireland, Scotland and England, and a little bit from Wales join us every quarter in Belfast. And one of the keynote sessions that we walked through in relation to the day was how to charge £7,500 up front without flinching. People are out there doing that. People are out there charging more. So if you've ever wondered, is that too expensive? The answer is no, it's not. So what are we going to cover today? Really simple. I want to dig into what investors actually want when they look at a deal. I want to have a look at what the typical fees are that you can charge, even as a beginner. I do want to have a look at why most sourcers underprice themselves and how you can stop that effective immediately. That will kill your cash flow and it will kill your confidence. And lastly, I want to have a look at how can you present your deal so that you are coming at it with confidence. Let's start with the ROI, the return on investment. Start with that and actually not your fee. This is the shift I want you to make. Investors don't typically care how long you've been sourcing. Some of them do, but not all of them. What they do care about is whether the deal makes financial sense. So your ROI, return on investment, or return on capital employed is the language that they speak. Now, in 2025, what I'm seeing across the board, certainly with the investors that I deal with, certainly the feedback that I'm getting from some of the guys inside our coaching program is that buy to lets, typically you want to be looking at anything 7% yield or return on investment or more. So that's net after costs. So let's look at that from a yield perspective. 7% and above, the higher the better. Here in Belfast, we typically look to get anything between 8 and 10%. I also invest in Glasgow where I get 10%, and in many cases you can get higher. However, don't be swayed by that figure because what you don't want is a high yielding property in a whole location. But buy to let, typically, rule of thumb, what I'm seeing with investors is a 7% yield or more. Give yourself a good rule of thumb of 7 to 10% net after costs. If you're looking for a rent-to-rent perspective, which frankly I hate, you should be aiming for a roundabout £300 to £500 profit minimum per deal. I loathe rent-to-rent. I used to do rent-to-rent when I started out on my property journey. Frankly, my opinion is that it's the poor man's investment strategy. And the reality is, with rents at an all-time high, landlords very, very rarely need you to come in and give them a guaranteed rent because they can fill them in a heartbeat. Let's have a look at buy, refurbish, refinance / flips. You should be looking at around about a 20 to 25% return on your profit margin. So let's have a look at this. For every £100,000 that you spend, for example, on a flip deal, you should aim to get 120,000 back. Well, 20,000 back, excuse me. So for every £100,000 you spend, you should aim to make £20,000 in profit. If you spend £200,000 all in, you should aim to collect £40,000 in profit, and so on. So use 20% as your general rule of thumb. Now, when you present the deal, Lead with the return on investment, lead with the yields, lead with the return on capital employed, which is more applicable to money being left in deals. And let's say, for example, in a buy, refurbish, refinance scenario or a buy to let scenario, okay? If the return works, your fee becomes a detail, not a deal breaker. And that's really important. If the numbers stack, your fee just becomes a cost of business, not the deal breaker. So let's have a look at what you can actually charge. I want to really drill in here. I want to cut the confusion, real world numbers that you can use as a benchmark. Buy to let deals, you can be looking at anything from £3,000 up. The more that you add on to your services, if it's a straight source and you walk away, a typical rule of thumb fee is £3,000. Yes. If you are more hands-on and a full portfolio build service, so you find the property, you negotiate the property, you see the property through conveyancing, you perhaps project coordinate some of the cosmetic or refurb works that is required, you bring in the trades, you coordinate that, you send it through to the letting agent and you get a tenant ready, you can warrant a fee of anything from £5,000 to £6,000. In some cases, £7,000 to £8,000. That will also be dependent on experience. Rent to rent deals, typically you can charge anything between £2,000 and £3,000. Again, I'm going to tell you, I hate rent to rent. And for buy, refurbish, refinance or flip deals, you can charge anything between £4,000 and £6,000. The higher the uplift and the higher the margin, the higher your fee. With HMO conversions, you can warrant charging 4.5 times the gross monthly rent. So in layman's terms, if you source a HMO conversion for an investor, and when that project is done, it will generate them, let's say, gross rent of £2,000 per month forever, you can warrant a fee of up to £8,000 for the luxury of that. I know what some of you are thinking when you're listening to this. That feels like a bit much, Danielle. Who's going to pay that? Well, this is where imposter syndrome creeps in, and I see it all the time. You're new, you haven't done a deal, and you think, well, what if they laugh at me? But here's the truth. If a deal stacks, then your fee is justified. Investors don't pay you for time. They pay you for access. They pay you for access to vetted, profitable opportunities that they didn't have to find themselves. And that's the key, because like I said to the guys in Belfast on Saturday, people with money pay for speed, they pay for speed, they pay for premium, and they pay for convenience. Basically, they pay for having to do it is what it is. So you're not selling a spreadsheet. What you're actually selling as a property sourcer and as a portfolio builder is you're selling speed, you're selling trust, you're selling a return, you're selling wealth creation. And last time I checked, wealth creation had a value. So what I need you to do is stop discounting yourself. But there is another matter, and I see it a lot. And it's a confidence gap. Most people who are new to portfolio building, they don't need better numbers, but what they do need is more confidence in the numbers they already have. And to be clear, I see this from some of the most seasoned people that I work with. So inside our mastermind program, we work with people who typically almost certainly have taken extensive property education. They may have dabbled in property investment themselves. They may have got close to sourcing a deal previously. So we're dealing with people who have acumen and some experience, but their confidence when they first come to me is in the gutter. Only you can tell me. So tell me, do you have a lack of confidence? Like, do you add your fee in at the end with a question mark, and you like, that'll be £3,000? Like almost asking for permission. Do you feel awkward stating your price so that you negotiate before they've even objected? Do you charge, £995 for a 3K deal because you're scared of rejection? To be very, very open and transparent with you, I was that girl. When I first started doing this back in 2016, I was discounting £3,000 buy-to-let deals down to £1,000 because I had no confidence in myself. I left tens of thousands of pounds on the table back then. So if any of that sounds familiar, let me be clear. Your sourcing fee is not a apology. It is the price of done for you investing. It is the price for creating wealth. It is the price that people with money pay for asset collection. You are saving your investor client weeks of effort. You are saving them weeks, maybe months of viewings. You are saving them the hassle and the stress and the inconvenience of negotiation. You're saving them the headache and the mundane chores of due diligence. Tell me you don't think that's valuable. Whether you've done one deal or you've done 100 deals, that is valuable. And as an investor myself, and I have people across the water in Glasgow working on my behalf to source me my investment opportunities in Glasgow, as an investor, I can tell you there is value in that. The last property that I bought in Glasgow, not only did I not set my foot in it, I didn't have to deal with the agents. I did not have to organize the cosmetic refurb. I did not have to organize the new carpet. I did not have to organize the vetting of the agents. I did not have to organize any form of negotiation. But what I did pick up at the end were the keys to a fully turnkey buy-to-let property that generates £900 per month in rent. I've never set my foot in it. I paid £3,000 for that luxury. Why? Because it saved me weeks of effort, weeks of viewings, weeks of negotiation, weeks of due diligence. It's valuable. You also need to know how to present like a professional, how to pitch your numbers. So if you want to sound confident, then lead with the facts, not the pitch. So the layout that I typically tend to preach / teach is purchase price, total investment required, monthly cash flow / ROI or return on capital employed or yield. Every investor likes to see something different. To be safe, add them all in. Include your sourcing fee. What's included within? What does your portfolio building service include? Lay all that out. Be specific. Be clear. Don't fluff it up. So if your investor sees a clean 7%, let's say, yield, £500 monthly cash flow and a fair fee, the conversation shifts from why so much to when can we move on this? Lead with the facts, not the sale. Here's the reality, guys. Investors want returns. Know your numbers and lead with your numbers. Know that standard sourcing fees range anything from £3,000 up. £3,000 upwards. That's your starting point. That is your benchmark. There is no wonder that so many people do so well, making a very lucrative income from sourcing and portfolio building if they do it the right way. If you've done the work, charge your worth, because confidence really is the differentiator in this. There are so many dipshits out there doing this the wrong way and doing it so badly that they really don't warrant a 3K fee. And imposter syndrome is not a reason to undercharge. Right? It's a sign you're growing. You have to lean into that. I would almost set you a challenge for anyone who's listened to this podcast and have previously done deals and maybe sold themselves short. I would encourage you to go back, revisit one of your recent deals and look at it through an investor's eyes and ask the question, was what was presented in front of me and what we did, was that valuable? And if that's the case, if the answer to that is yes, then practice saying your full fee out loud without flinching. Write it in the pack, say it on the call, stand behind it. Here's the reality. If you don't back yourself, nobody else will. And if you don't lead with confidence, then you lead looking like a scared little mouse, and nobody finds that attractive. If this episode, guys, has given you a shot of clarity, then here's the straight facts. I want to know. I would love you to screenshot it. I would love you to share it on your socials. I would love you to tag me and tell me what clicked for you. If you want to go a little bit deeper and you want some more dedicated, tailored support and help on deal packaging, pricing, raising finance, or building a really profitable lifestyle sourcing business that actually makes you money, then reach out, drop me a message, and we can chat about our 6-figure sourcing coaching program. This is the work that we do week in and week out. This is our bread and butter, and I know this business like the back of my hands. We don't do guesswork. We don't do fluff. We just do deals. We just do clients, and we just do cash flow. I will catch you in next week's episode.